Hi, this is Bishop Craig in Lansing, and this is Take One for the week of the 20th of September. Peace be with you. We congratulate Peace Lutheran Church in Gaylord and Pastor Megan Crouch. Pastor Megan was called to be their pastor yesterday, Sunday, and has already accepted the call, so I get to share that. Congratulations. Congratulations to Pastor Jeff Bond and Messiah Lutheran Church in Roscommon. Pastor Bond will be installed as the pastor on Sunday as at a outdoor service of the word. Pastor Sprang will be doing the installation. And we pray for Bread of Life in Hudsonville and Pastor Kate von Volkenberg. Pastor Kate is their transitional pastor, and they will be voting to call her as pastor on Sunday. So some exciting stuff going on. My week is spent on Zoom. I have already had 3 Zoom meetings today, and it's Monday afternoon, so lots of Zoom going on. It's really interesting. I think we're all having some short fuses this week. At least I am. I was in a meeting where they did not tell me in advance that you had to not only be on the Zoom meeting on your computer, somehow you had to go to your phone and go to some other program and type in your answers. And, I got really ticked because I can't see to do all that. And if I'd been given a heads up, I could have made arrangements in advance and had someone here to help me or whatever. I say all that to say, I live with legal blindness, and every sometime in every day I get kind of, I hate being legally blind. And when you've asked the same people to kind of accommodate for 7 years, let's say, and they don't do it, and I'm not talking about my staff or the synod, and they don't do it, it's very frustrating. As I cooled down, I thought and said to Kathy, mine is over, a program that I was not prepared for, and so I was made to look and to feel incompetent. Magnify that by racism, discrimination by gender, discrimination by sexual orientation, and I have some momentary new appreciation for the impatience, the frustration, and the rage that we are experiencing in our society these days. So that's where this all took me. And so I'm praying for our world that's divided, and that especially our country and our state, that we get a handle on healing our divisions and getting to a place where we really do regard all people as beloved children of God who have something to contribute, and who we would like to hear from, and so we need to make it possible for them to participate. That's kind of what I'm thinking about today. I'm also continuing to think about COVID because we're all getting impatient over that because, we want to get back to normal, and we're at 200,000 lives lost over COVID, and so we should not get back to normal. If you have not done it, I invite you to find those places. PBS NewsHour on Friday, MSNBC every night at 6 o'clock, where they retell some of the stories of the lives that are lost, so that they're not numbers, so that they become real. I think it's important that these beloved children of God be beloved realities to us. These are grandparents and fathers and mothers and sons and daughters and first responders and medical personnel and friends, and it's devastating. So I think realizing the reality of the lives that have lost may help us have more patience as we deal with COVID. I'm also aware that pastors are getting tired and pastors are getting frustrated. And someone reminded me that October is Pastor Appreciation Month. And so if you're a layperson watching this, get to your congregational council and say, how can we appreciate our pastor this month? I can tell you from experience, it does not have to be a big deal. But an expression of appreciation in October will go a long way. When I was pastor at St. Timothy in Sturgis for 5 years while at Notre Dame, we commuted, 45 minutes one way to get from South Bend to Sturgis. Rain, sleet, snow. I think we only missed one Sunday in 5 years. And we would have the long ride, and we would get to the point of going, okay, we're giving our 30 days notice today. And in we'd walk to give our 30 days notice to Kelly Murphy, our council president, and they would have guessed that it was time, and there would be some small token of appreciation, and we would go on that grace for a long while longer. And they always made a big deal of Pastor Appreciation October. I had never heard of it till I got to St. Timothy in Sturgis. So I encourage you to do that. Begin to think in the end of September how you're going to appreciate your pastor in October. I think it'd be a really good thing. So I got to say that I am struggling with the gospel reading for Sunday. You kind of got some mind games, some power games going on between Jesus and the leaders in the synagogue while he's teaching. They ask him, by what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you this authority? Because if Jesus says God, then he's a blasphemer. And if he doesn't say God, they'll ask, then what are you doing? Who are you to do this? So it's a trick question. And Jesus comes back with a trick question of his own and says, well, you answer my question, I'll answer yours. The baptism from John, did it come from God or from people? And if the leaders say it came from God, Jesus asked, then why didn't you heed it? Why didn't you take it seriously? Why didn't you obey it? And if it came from people, the crowds who think that John the Baptist was a man sent from God are going to be mad. So you got kind of the standoff of the head games going on. And then we leave the synagogue and the temple, and Jesus tells this parable about the two sons go and work in the field. And one says, I'm going, and doesn't go. And the other says, I'm not going, but later turns his mind around and goes. What does that mean? And I kind of struggled that as a theologian and as a Lutheran, because Jesus, is saying it's not about right understanding, and it is about doing. It's about good works. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm remembering of somebody that once worked for me, and I would say, I need you to do this. And, yep. I said, do you understand what I want you to do? Yep. And then the person didn't do it. And I said, I asked you to do this. And the person said, well, I told you I understood what you wanted me to do. I didn't say I would do it. Well, that wasn't really helpful. I kind of landed in this parable by saying, okay, there are those who do understand, and their understanding leads them to do. And there are those who may not understand, but they go and do, right? So the good news, I think, for me in this parable is that faith finds a lot of ways of expressing itself. Faith, let's say, can have a home at different places in our lives. For some, the faith may very truly be in the understanding. I get it. I am justified by grace through faith apart from works of law. I understand. And my understanding leads me to live differently. Other people may not understand, But they know that Jesus says to love the neighbor, to love God, to worship, to feed, to care, to bear a cross. They may not understand, but they do it. So the good news is, I think, faith has lots of homes in our lives and lots of expressions. And this takes me back to one of the Old Testament readings. I get confused at this time of year because there are so many Old Testament readings. There's the one that matches, and there's the one that's semi-continuous. But I'm liking the one from Exodus today because it is Israel in the wilderness, and they are thirsting, thirsting, thirsting. And Moses is like, "What do I do?" And he and the elders go, and Moses strikes the rock, and there is water. And the early church fathers, I tend to think of Ambrose of Milan, because he's my hero, or my patron saint. Ambrose would give that a Christological interpretation and say that the rock is Christ, as you know, or the gospel, as in Jesus the cornerstone in the epistles, or upon this rock I will build my church in the gospels. Christ is the rock, or the gospel is the rock. And from the rock flows the baptismal waters that satisfy our deepest thirst. And they do. So maybe that's the root of all faith. Knowing that we are beloved children of God, that nothing can separate us from the love of Christ, that the future is safely in God's hands, even if we are dealing with division, even when we feel excluded by race or gender or sexual orientation, yes, or even disability. The future is safely in God's hands. And that, God will bring the reign of God. And we are joined to that in baptism. And there are lots of ways we can live that out. Some of us through understanding, and others through doing, all as beloved children, and in lots of different ways. We call that the priesthood of all believers, that no matter what our vocation, our calling, we can do it as a response to the gospel, as grounded in the waters of baptism. So I've gone from kind of anger today to some renewed understanding, to the reality that God is in charge and I get to participate. I guess that's the journey from confession to forgiveness and amendment of life, or as Lutherans like to call it, daily dying and rising, living out our baptism. That was kind of where I'm at today. I pray it makes sense. It's logical. It's coherent. And I pray that it's meaningful. And I pray for you. The peace of Christ be with you always.